Bienvenue sur MORDU, le podcast des passionnés de glisse et d'outdoor. MORDU, tendance ride.
Hello everyone and welcome to MORDU. Today, I'm taking you to the south of France where I had the chance to sit down with one of the most influential people in the world of foiling. If you spent any time around wing foiling, surf foiling or downwind over the last few years, you've probably heard of Armstrong Foils. But behind the brand is a fascinating story. Armie Armstrong grew up sailing around the world with his family, built his first foils in his father's garage in New Zealand, and turned passion project into one of the most respected foil brands on the planet. We met during the Défi Wing and beyond the products. I wanted to understand the philosophy behind the brand, his approach to innovation, and why, after a 15-hour flight, the very first thing he did wasn't checking into his hotel. It was going straight in the water. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Armie Armstrong. Hello, Armie.
Merci beaucoup.
Already
fucked it up. See, I think we better do this in English. Can we do this in English?
No, it was very good. I like it. No,
I should have said bonjour.
No, we did hesitate. We
First question, perfect.
But we wondered if we had to do it in French or in English.
I think we better do it in English, man.
Okay, so
sorry, guys.
So yeah, people have to listen to me in English, but you know, it might be better that way. So, Armie, thank you for being here. Do I pronounce your first name right? It's Armie. It's fine. C'est parfait. Excellent. To be honest, when I heard that you were at the Défi, I immediately jumped on the opportunity because I'm not sure you come to Europe that often. Because you're based in New Zealand.
Unfortunately, not enough. We need to come more, and it's so epic to see the stoke here for water sports. Like the Europeans, I don't know why, but you guys love to get out and into the water more than most people, I think, more than most people around the whole world. Like we've done a lot of travel everywhere else in the world, and you know the Europeans seem to really love water sports more than kind of anyone. It's really interesting. My last trip to Europe was actually right after COVID, about 4.5 years ago. And it was a crazy trip because New Zealand we were still in lockdowns, and we went to Tarifa and everyone was like partying in the streets like it was normal. It was kind of this super weird trip. It was 1 year after COVID for you guys up here, and it was still kind of going in New Zealand. It was a super weird time. And yeah, that was epic as well. Like just the buzz around water sports in Europe. And I can't believe it's been 5 years, but we've got such a great sales team that we've just been sending our sales team here. And I've spent most of that time, to be honest, in the factories just getting gear made, because it's all about the gear.
Yeah, that's what I heard, because I asked a few questions around before seeing you. So the guys told me that you spent 4 months in China
probably in the last 6 months. And we design wherever we are. We're constantly designing, tinkering with stuff. That can happen anywhere, anytime. Mostly on the water we have our best ideas when we're sessioning. But manufacturing, it's all about the details. The devil really is in the details. And so you can make, any quality of product anywhere in the world as long as your spec is really good, your materials are good, and you make sure that you follow through with, every detail.
You arrived, I think 1 or 2 days ago in France.
Yesterday.
And what was the first time you did when you arrived here?
We rigged up gear and got in the water. What are you going to do? We got off the plane. You got to wash off the travel dust. And yeah, for me, and I think for everyone here at this event, that's the stoke of doing the sport. And you got to have that. If you don't have the love of the thing you're doing, well, you kind of need to find something else that you love and do it, So I'm just lucky that, I managed to make a career out of doing something I love. And so for sure, first time you get somewhere, there's a little bit of wind, a little bit of waves, and not really anyone out because it was the end of the day. So I had the beach to myself and had a fun 2-hour session. It was epic.
I love it because, you can imagine after 12 or 15 hours of flight, the guy would want to eat or to go to the hotel, and no, just straight out of the water. I just love it. It's great. So you grew up in New Zealand.
Yep.
With a father who was both an architect and a sailor.
Yeah, correct. You've done your homework. Cool.
How does that shape the way you think about design, about the fact that you run this company?
A lot. Luckily I have really good friends running the company. Business-wise, if it was just me, I don't know, you would never have heard of me probably, but luckily we've got a really good team for that. With the design and the development thinking, Yeah, comes from my dad a lot. He took us sailing since we were kids. We actually sailed around the world. I grew up on a boat when I was like from 6 months old to 3, sailing around the world. Learned to walk on a boat, and sailing's the DNA of the family. And New Zealand, everyone loves sailing in New Zealand, and we have some really good, sailing development, which definitely helped. But my father being an architect, he was very particular with details. And so just learning that just innately, not by any design, it just came about because, we were always tinkering with boats, and my grandfather built boats that we sailed as kids. So yeah, it's just kind of a natural thing to be trying things and developing things, and then also using the materials, fiberglass, composites, wood, gluing it together into, shapes that work in the water. It's kind of just something, our family's done, at least 2 or 3 generations,
And how was it when you were a kid? So you were traveling around the world with the family?
Yeah.
Were you going to school? Or?
Well, no, I was only, at that time, I was only, up to like 3.5 or 4 years old.
Okay.
So, but we had 6 kids on the boat, and the oldest one was 11. 2 families, so 4 adults, 6 kids, and we were in a 45-foot ketch, pretty crammed in. My bunk was literally like 2'6" long, just long enough for me to fit in, and custom made. And then, yeah, we were packed in the boat, sailing around the world for a couple of years. And when we got to New Zealand, we were just sailing the whole time too. So very lucky to have a family that loved sailing so much. And wind sports they're just an extension of sailing for me. And, the wind is such a beautiful, energy that the planet has. And we're just incredibly lucky to have these tools that just keep getting better every year to use that energy and have a great time and maximize the moments we have on the earth. That's it, really simple.
You were really young when you were doing this traveling with your parents on this boat, but do you have any souvenir?
Oh, for sure.
One souvenir you would like to share about it, and that shaped the future you?
Well, that trip, I don't remember anything specific because I was too young, but my parents, especially my mum, took a lot of Super 8 footage, and we have all this old family Super 8 footage and slides, really good slides. And I remember just like 6 kids, like bleach blonde hair, because we're just in the sun all day long, and like brown as hanging out with locals in the Tuamotus, in the Northern Tahiti group, just, on the beach. And I guess that probably my goal is just to hang out at the beach and be in the ocean as much as possible. And I probably came from there.
And as a kid, were you already trying to build things or trying to understand how it works?
I think as a kid, and also now, I'm really good at breaking things, actually. So that's helped because, the goal at the start of this whole project was to build something that didn't break. Because the early foils, when I got into kite foiling at the start of, my foiling journey in about, 2012, everything I was on was breaking, and so I was taking in the waves and jumping it as hard as I could. And I'm not a super small guy. So, I was like, okay, let's try and make something that I can't break. Like that was sort of goal 1.
You have done sailing, kayaking, some kite surfing, SUP racing. Is there a common thread through all of that, or are you just someone who cannot say no to a new sport? Are you just somebody curious?
Sports. It's definitely water sports. I mean, hey, I love snow sports too, but snow is just another form of water. So yeah, I guess I just love being in the ocean, lakes, rivers, anything. And I kayaked for 20 years when I was at, from school all the way through university. And we used to throw ourselves off waterfalls with a bunch of crazy friends, some of whom went on to become, really, really famous kayakers in the whitewater scene. And then I got, sort of sidetracked into kite surfing. The first time we went kiting was actually in Maui. We were there on a windsurfing trip, and we literally just got absolutely smashed. So Lou Wayman and Fatty Issa were the very early pioneers of kite surfing, on Maui. And those guys were ripping on the 2-line Whipaka kites, like jumping over windsurfers. And we saw that windsurfing, we're like, oh, we got to try that. So we just bought this old Whipaka 2-line kite. It was like half broken. It was like, we didn't have much money to put together. It was probably
1999.
99. And bro, we had an old windsurf harness. We just hooked on, launched the kite at Kite Beach, Maui, and literally just got absolutely smashed all the way down to the harbor, like just getting ragdolled. No idea what we were doing. No coaching.
Did you start to manufacture any kite at that time? I can't remember this.
No, we didn't do anything with that.
What were you doing at that time?
At that time, I was working in the film industry, actually. So I was building underwater camera gear for the movie industry. So back then it was all film, no digital. So really big cameras and really specific custom gear pretty much every shoot had some custom requirement for the camera, what lens they're using, all sorts of details like that. And so we basically customized underwater housings for movie cameras. Did that for 20 years with an Austrian engineer.
What kind of movie?
We both built the housings for and did the underwater footage. So that's kind of a big, great Kiwi film. And yeah, it had a lot of underwater sequences. The main character was a girl who basically could talk with the whales. And we had these really cool sequences where she was on the back of a whale and we had to film her. And the actor actually did the stunt where she hung on to the part of a whale that we'd built that was towed behind a boat, and we had to dive her underneath, making it, go down with a rudder. And she was hanging on and let go. And that was kind of one of the key moments of the film.
When did you decide to move from the movie industry to producing your own foil?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting story. I got really lucky, I suppose, that I'd kind of burnt out. I had 20 years in the film industry, and it's kind of an intense lifestyle. You never know what's happening next month. You can't commit to anything. The hours are kind of crazy. And so I moved to Raglan to go surfing, have a break for a little bit of time. And right at that time, Robbie Whittle and the Ozone design team moved to Raglan, early 2000s. And they moved to Raglan, and I just became good friends with them through kite surfing. And I'd show them a bunch of spots in New Zealand because I've been, deeply into kite surfing at that point, and we knew all the best spots down Taranaki and Raglan. And we just became good friends and hung out a lot. And then when I got into kite foiling and decided to build my first foil, Rob was pretty excited about it because he's into tinkering and making stuff. And we just sat down together, and the foil worked. And Rob was like, well, let's try make a production foil and see if we can make a company because, why not?
So Rob already had funded Ozone?
Yeah, so Rob was one of the original founders of Ozone as well. And he's a very talented individual, and him and I got together and basically developed our first foil setup. So we used an airfoil section from one of Rob's successful paragliders from like years and years ago, one of his favorite foil sections. We made it a bit thinner and eyeballed it, and we didn't do much science at that point. We just looked at it and went, it looks pretty good. And we translated that into a first prototype handmade foil. We used, I got my father to actually help me with some old-fashioned drafting. We drafted up all the sections 1-to-1 scale on some bits of paper. We glued it to wood. We cut it out, made a whole bunch of templates, and we just handmade a wooden foil to those templates and then just glassed it with a couple of layers of glass. Tested it, and it worked great. And we were like, okay, maybe we can do this. And then that foil, we actually scanned it and turned the scan of that original handmade foil into our first CF1600, which was the first foil we released. So that was the journey of that foil.
At that time, it was already an Armstrong foil. It was an Ozone foil.
No, there was nothing to do with it. It was just Rob and I. It was nothing to do with Ozone as a company thing. It was basically, totally separate to Ozone as a development thing for Rob. Rob was obviously still doing design work for Ozone, but we were tinkering away. I did basically most of the tinkering. Rob just came in with, the key moments of inspiration. Like the foil section is massive, as we've come to learn, which is why our HAs and UHAs are so loved, is the foil section really delivers a unique characteristic of stability. But back then, I didn't really know anything about foil sections, right? And so Rob's input in the foil section development, he'd spent years in airfoils. We've growing the company, we've had now conversations with the top foiled section designers in the world who work for America's Cup team, Formula One teams and stuff like that. And those guys are a really, really interesting bunch. There's probably 5 of them in the world who are really, really on it and know what they're doing. But even every year they learn something new and they go, oh, actually, we try this other curve. And they're just changing the curves in small ways.
What I hear a lot about foil designer is that there is kind of 2 approach, like the really NASA one, with all the data, the 3D modelizing and everything. And more like the guy just shipping, out of his garage and coming with great idea. In what school are you?
It's a you have to,
combination of 2.
You have to have a combination. And the tinkering, we started out of the garage, literally out of my dad's garage.
How come the first one was good? Because you didn't do any modelization.
I think we did no data. We just used. I could say we got lucky with the foil section. Rob's a pretty smart guy, so I think Rob gave us a good foil section. And then we made it the right size for what people needed at that time. And it was very slow. But at that time, foiling was so early that people couldn't handle the speed. So it actually fitted where the market was at. It was slow, easy, not super efficient, didn't have a lot of pump and glide, but back then you connect one wave in a session and you're just absolutely frothing. Everyone was stoked, right? No one had been pumping around for hours at that point, right? So it was slow and stable. So we kind of got lucky in some ways, but at the same time, we've always wanted to make products as accessible as possible, as easy to use, because we want to grow the sport and we want people to love the time on the water. And it's a big commitment, in people's lives to get to the beach, rig up, get on the water. And so when you're on the water, you just want to have fun and have a good time.
What's super true is that I think that there has been this one key moment with Kaileni. Kaileni is always in key moments of the water sport, but where it was on the Kalawai, the run, the downwind,
the Nepali,
yeah, and you saw him on the downwind, and we were like, wow, shit, downwind is something, but you're still like, yeah, it's fucking Kaileni, so the guy can do anything with it's not for me, And what's for sure is that for downwind, I think that downwind is something that is coming up. Like it's like a trend now.
Yeah.
And it's like you're on the spot and you see somebody or don't really know, but the guy like next door, he can do downwind. You're like, maybe it's not only Kaileni that can do that. And
yeah. Well, Kaileni is a groundbreaker on a lot of levels because he is just so talented. And the whole Maui crew, were there at the beginning of foiling. Like literally the start of foiling was Mike Murphy, who made the air chairs, the sit-down foils, gave a rig to Rush Randall, Laird Hamilton, Pete Cabrina, those guys. And they went tow foiling, and that was, that's all based out of the Maui crew. They took, the sit-down foil, and Mike has the original patent for a front foil, a tail foil with a fuselage bolted to a mast. Like he developed that system with his mate like years and years ago for the sit-down foils. The sit-down guys, they're animals and they wanted to go fast on big waves. So it was impossible for most people to use, like just too hard. And so what Alex did was he made a slow, easy foil, and put it out there, and it worked great. And so that Go Foil had early success because of that. And so did we, because the foil was kind of bad by today's standards, but actually great for what the market is at, slow and stable and easy. And, you take away the slow and keep it stable and easy, and that's kind of where we are now.
Take us to when you decide to found Armstrong Foils.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a straight decision. It was just we made the first rig and it worked, and we were pretty excited about it. And then we decided to turn it into a production rig. And I had been doing a little bit of work, quality control in a surf factory in China. So I had some contacts, and we were like, okay, well, let's try and make something in New Zealand first. But just the logistics of raw materials and shipping, because everything we had to ship in raw materials to New Zealand, and then even shipping out. So logistics is, really hard to do international business out of New Zealand. It's just a crazy logistics game, and big, hats off to any New Zealand company that can make that work, because it's super difficult. So we decided pretty early on we're going to do all our production in Asia, because it's just much closer to the markets. And, people there work hard. So why not?
So when you start, you're not like, okay, I'm going to found this big company. It was more like, okay, I want to produce the foils. I need to do the admin, and let's set up a company.
Yeah, we just were like, let's make a foil that works for us. That was it. Make a foil that works for us. And we thought, okay, well, let's make 50 so that they can, we can give them to our friends, which we did. And then after we made the first 50, people were stoked on them. And then we were like, okay, we're going to make 150. We're going to go to a factory. We're going to set up, make our first batch like 150. We're pretty excited about that. It's like, 150. And to scrape some money together, I dropped out of the surf industry by that stage. I was just tinkering with foils and going surfing too much, and managed to get a couple of good friends in Raglan to invest. And we went to a factory. We had our design, and we turned it into the first foil setup. And that was definitely an interesting journey, like learning about production tolerances. And, again, I did get my father to help with the original drawings for the fuselage and get the dimensions sort of nailed just on paper, just old school drafting on paper. And then from there, we put it all into a computer and did the CAD and turned it into a foil system. But it was just an evolution. There was a moment when we thought, yep, let's commit and do this make this 150 batch and make the production molds.
How big is it, Armstrong Foils? Can you share some figures? How many employees? How much sales?
We definitely have a decent number of, employees, but we're still pretty small compared to, I think, some of the bigger companies in Europe. And that's the exciting thing coming to Europe, is just to see how big these sports are in Europe. They're like in the rest of the world, even in the States, they're kind of quite a niche sport. But here, it's like you drive around any road and you see people with like vans just set up for water sports, whether it's windsurfing. Windsurfing's still strong here, which is a great case. Like windsurfing is not really strong anywhere else in the world, but Europe, there's still more people in the Défi windsurfing than anything else, which is so epic, right? It's kind of like this original.
Yeah, it's going to be like 1,200 persons.
Yeah. So that's so cool. I mean, apparently there's going to be 800 wingers, so I'm slightly scared of start line, to be honest.
Are you going to run? Sure,
I'm going to run.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm here.
We're going to be together in the water. Excellent.
Oh, you'll probably be looking at you from way behind. Who knows? But let's see. It's going to be really fun. But yeah, I don't know why. Europe people just love it.
Why did you decide to come this year to France, to Défi? Because it's the first time you're coming.
First time I've come to Défi. We've had some team riders, come here because it's such a great iconic event and they wanted to come. But for us, I guess I think we've grown to a point now where we're ready for the Europe market. Like we've got the right gear, the timing's good, and we've got enough production muscle, because scaling up, it's really interesting. You have this dream, I want to scale up and produce foils for the world, but actually, and you do the original maths and you don't factor in all the costs involved, like you logistics, shipping, warehousing in different countries, VAT, all this complicated stuff that you don't have any idea about when you're starting out. And all those costs, mount up. And until you have a big enough wheel, there's a threshold that you got to try and get over just to be able to supply the people when they want gear, and the shops when they want it, and just the communications, the infrastructure. Distribution in this game is a tricky game. And that's why I think Europe's been really hard to break into, not just for us, but a lot of brands outside of Europe. And hey, there's another good reason. You guys have amazing product coming from France. And, I don't know why. I think the French and the Kiwis have probably the most foil brands that are successful in the world. I guess we all love sailing, and I don't know why. Why it's French and Kiwis, I don't know, but it kind of is.
Yeah, that is one thing I wanted to mention, is the fact that usually all those sports, they come from Maui, and foiling is coming from Maui. Kite was both, American and French would say, maybe from New Zealand.
I think it's kiting definitely was probably French guys originally, but anyway. But Maui is the mecca for all the water sport. But I think that's something that is changing, is that the conditions, because in Maui it was perfect for windsurfing, wave riding, and so on. Yeah. But the conditions that we have in France, for example, for foiling, I mean, it's almost a paradise. And I think that the products that are produced in France are really adapted to the market, because this is where people are practicing and so on. Yeah. Would you? And maybe it's the same with New Zealand, I guess, where the conditions maybe are not perfect. We have more variable conditions, right? It's not Maui, and Maui is a great place to do some development, but actually I think you can get into an echo chamber there because the conditions are just too good. And the real world conditions in the rest of the world, and the beauty of foiling is that actually the conditions can be really shit, and you're having a great session.
I remember, a video of, I think it was Robin Esch, when the wing foiling came out. And he was saying on the video, in this world, it's amazing. You just need one sail, just a 4 meter or 3 meters, and you're just going, But the guy, he has 25 knots every day. So he's not like, man, I'm going to go with 12 knots, I need a 6, That's funny, So I totally agree with your echo chamber thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think if you've got a more challenging, situation with where you're developing something, you're going to push harder with the gear. And maybe that's why, New Zealand and France, we kind of, I think there's the ingenuity too. I think that it's just inbuilt, like Kiwis, because we're on a small island. French, just because of French. French are so creative, and I think pushing into this kind of development is normal. And the French nautical design has always been up there, has been amazing. I don't know why they haven't won an America's Cup. That one, I haven't figured that one out yet. They should have by now.
You are really polite with the French, and now
that one, I don't know. But they won most of the other races, especially the long distance, like the single-handed around the world. I think only French ever win, pretty much. But yeah.
So yeah, you want to. Are you already in Europe? I mean, like Armstrong is an amazing brand for people who know already the market. It's a market that is pretty competitive. You have Axis, North, F1, Cabrina, Ketos. When you look at the competitive landscape today, where does Armstrong sit? How do you enter? What's your strategy?
Our strategy is kind of simple. Just make the best gear we can and make the gear accessible so that it's fun to ride and maximize every minute you're on the water. So that's a really simple thing to have as a goal. Quite hard to achieve because it's really easy to get in these echo chambers of design where you want to increase the performance too much and then all of a sudden it becomes unstable and hard to ride. And there's always a trade-off of some element of stability and speed. Like those are the two things that are constantly battling really when you're trying to develop something. And so, yeah, just getting that right for the market. And we believe we have right now probably some of the best equipment on the market for stability, accessibility, and just pure stoke and fun on the water. It's like right from the MAs, the HAs, and the UHAs, they're all intuitive, instinctive, and kind of easy to ride. And that's just translates into you can progress. And, you know, Cash is a great example. Like the foil he's on is a foil we've had out for quite a long time because it's kind of stable and easy in some ways. And so that's, you know, I don't know, I keep coming back to it, but it is the key really to growing the sport and getting more people hooked into this awesome thing that we love doing.
Yeah, so you mentioned accessibility. On the market, actually, you have, I would say, like 3 type of brands. Like on any market, you have like the top premium brand. And I would mention Axis, maybe Armstrong today. You have like brands that are really pushing the accessibility with the price, mentioning Gong, which is like a big actor on this. And you have the markets in between, which is a segment that is not super easy. For me, Armstrong is like a premium brand, like Axis, like F1 or North. This is the way you see your brand?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some of those you threw in there, I don't know if we'd quite line ourselves up with, but but you know, the North even make foils anymore? I don't know.
They do.
No, I'm kidding. No, those guys are going through a big rejig, which is cool. They're probably going to come up with some really great stuff. Yeah, no, it's everyone. You know what? The best thing about these events is you just see the stoke from everyone. Everyone that's here from the brands just love doing the sport, it's a cool community actually. And the market's big enough for us all to grow together. I don't think there really is this, you know, yes, it's competitive and we all want our gear to be the best, but I think everyone's growing together. And I find it exciting. I think it's great that we push each other. Everyone pushes each other every year to make something better. And it's just good for everyone.
Where do you see foiling going? What are the trends? What do you follow? Like,
well, obviously the power wing is here to stay now. And as you said, downwinding it's strange. It was kind of the start of the foiling revolution with Kai Lenny, like you were saying, on Maui, putting out that crazy downwind footage that no one could even comprehend, went on a big old sup. And that's kind of taken this long to develop into something that most people can do. If you're not in Hood River or Maui, you just need really special conditions. But with the power wing and the new foiling gear, you don't really. You can take a modern foil, a power wing, get out on the water and learn how to downwind. And so that's definitely going to be a growing part of it. Surf foiling is a funny one. It's bubbling away and it's obviously really big in hot spots like Maui and that sort of thing, or Hawaii generally, I suppose.
You mean prone foiling?
Yeah, prone surf foiling. But it is, as a global part of the market, it's surprisingly still got a lot more growth to have. And I guess surfers can be resistant to foiling, and there's, you know, sometimes there's a good reason to it. So, you know, don't go foiling, you know, where there's surfers in the water. Like that's kind of rule 1 of foiling. But I do think that is going to happen, and we're starting to see it in Aussie with some of the pro surfers that literally a few years ago were hating on foiling 100%. And now they're sneaking out and trying to learn how to do it where no one can see them before they turn up at any spot where anyone knows who they are, right? On a foil, because they can actually do it. But they are starting to get into it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think that's going to be a big area. I'm going to see a lot of growth. And then the wake foil scene, that's ticking along, but it's taken this long for the wake foilers to really understand it. And now they're taking it, I actually think most wake boats spend more time pulling foilers now than wake surfing or wakeboarding.
You see this in New Zealand?
Definitely in the States. New Zealand, it doesn't have a big wake
because
market.
I don't see it in Europe yet.
Europe doesn't have a big wake scene generally. It's kind of great. Europe, people love the wind sports. Like there's wind sports here are way bigger. But there are some wake pockets in Europe, but it's more a US market. The wake scene is big in the US because they have a lot of lakes with no wind at all. And so inland lakes with zero wind.
And they love boats and motors.
Oh yeah, and Americans love motors.
It's a different culture. You don't mention e-foil?
E-foil, well, obviously the foil driver making a big splash there. The e-foil I think it's always been the best way to learn. It's the easiest way to learn how to foil because you've got the power right in your hand. On a big e-foil board, you can get beginners up and foiling straight away. And foil drive have made a big splash in the electrified scene because they've transitioned that e-foil into waves. And so that's made surf foiling way more accessible because surf foiling, unless you're a good surfer, is actually pretty hard. Taking off, prone on a board and getting to your feet on a wave with the foil is actually pretty challenging. So the foil drive has taken that out of the equation, and that we've seen a lot of growth in that, obviously, in the last 3 or 4 years. And I think that's going to continue, really ramping up the sport, which is great for everyone. It just more people enjoying the water, but just don't take your foil drive anywhere near surface.
No, please. But one thing about the surf foil, I started surf foil. I'm still beginning, but coming from foiling and dog start and so on, I found pretty easy to get on the board, to be honest.
Okay, cool.
No, but I'm super limited with my surf skills, actually.
Okay.
I mean, going to smaller boards, choosing the right waves, going to proper waves, not like the 30 centimeters wave,
Yeah.
I feel so limited with, and I surf a bit, I know how to surf, but I really feel limited with by the surf, actually, not by the
conditions. Surf foiling is really condition dependent. You need, ideally a long, wet wave that's got, a decent face, but doesn't really break top to bottom.
A friend of mine told me, the conditions you need is the conditions you go with your 8 years old kid, You tell me, If you go with kids, they are 8 years old, they don't know how to surf, and you feel safe with them in the water with a surfboard, it means that's good conditions for you to start surfing.
I think you're bang on. Yeah. You need mellow waves, but the tricky part there is those mellow waves often have beginners. So just choose your spot. But that's the hardest. It is the hardest part of any surf sport is being at the right place on the right day for the conditions. And surfing is the most particular for conditions.
That's the fun of it.
That's the fun, the chase of surfing. It's never going to go away, that one.
That's something I wanted to ask you about is that, so we are in France, we have this growing scene in foiling, and something I hear a lot in France, but you will tell me if you also hear that, is that the scene, the Mediterranean, is pretty amazing spot for downwind. It's almost world-class spots. We are in Gruissan. Would you agree?
Well, we haven't seen the normal wind yet, the Tramontana. I don't know if it's hopefully it comes on Tuesday. But I've heard great things. Romu, our local rep, is absolute stoked on downwind foiling. He just loves it. He's done it for yonks. And apparently there is epic wind conditions along this coast. But hey, this is literally the first time I've been in the Mediterranean since I was here on a boat when I was 3 with my parents on a yacht. So I don't know, but it sounds great. And yesterday was a fun session. Today there's waves. I'm actually super surprised there's surf. There's actually decent surf rolling.
Yeah, we have onshore wind. I never seen that big waves in Gruissan.
It's like there's head high waves. So it's sick. We're going to go after this. We're going to go out for a session. It's going to be fun and ride some waves. The kiters are kind of bummed because they've lost their last race today because I guess not enough wind and too many waves to get off the beach. But light wind getting off the beach with, I don't know, 500 kites Today, I don't think they would have gone off the beach.
Yeah. Would have been a
But good
bit
waves.
dangerous.
So,
Excellent. We're almost there. Tell us about the best downwind run of your life. Where, when, what was the
best
condition?
downwind run of my life. Well, I think the best one for me was actually the Nepali coast 2017. So it was a year after Kyle and he put that video out. And we actually had the molds for our first production foil, the CF1600. And it was, I did the Nepali race a lot of times, sup racing back in the day. And I always wanted to do it. And I kind of figured out downwinding partially, but not 100%. And I went there and did that run and we just had firing conditions and I had just an amazing run. And it took me a little bit of time to get going. Like at the start was, a challenge. And so the suppers got a little bit ahead. And Travis Grant, who was the current world champ in the sup race scene at the time, I'd been racing him for years, but he always absolutely thrashed me. And the best moment for me was coming past him as he was on his, unlimited downwind sup, screaming downwind. And I came past him halfway down the Nepali coast, super beautiful, like it was just crazy beautiful day. And past Travis and just left him, like miles behind, I was like just so stoked. And unfortunately though, at the end of that race, there was like 2 miles of dead flat water. Like the wind switched off and we went around the corner. It's kind of famous for that particular run. I pumped as far as I could, but I had to lie down and belly prone and he passed me like literally just as we were getting to the beach. So he still beat me, but it was like the best run ever because I think I came third. I think him and Tituan Galea came first and second and then I came third, but I was kind of unofficial. They didn't even know what class to put me in because no one had really done it. Like, Kai had been doing it, but no one had really done it in races. So yeah, that was the most memorable for me where I actually, everything worked, the gear worked, and I was like, riding with some of my heroes from the sup world. It was pretty sick.
Many thanks for being here on MORDU. What do we wish you for the next year?
What do we wish for the next year? Well, the next year, I don't know, whatever you're doing, get out on the water, have fun, maximize your time on the water as you guys are amazing at doing. And I'm just stoked. I feel so lucky to be here in France just to see the vibe, like at the Défi, the energy of just the people getting here with all their kit and the stoke and the vibe, it's just really, really fun to be around. So thank you everyone for enjoying the sport and being part of it. We're just stoked to see where the journey takes us.
Excellent. Many thanks for being here.
Merci beaucoup.
Ciao. Bye.